All right, so are you ready for this?
Always.
We're going to deep dive into like the whole TikTok ban situation that's
Oh.
happening right
A
now
big one.
in the US. We have some articles from Al Jazeera about it.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. It's a really wild story. It's kind of nuts.
Yeah.
So many different players
Like
involved.
a who's who of the
Yeah, yeah.
political and tech world right now.
Biden, uh, Trump, uh, TikTok's parent company, which is ByteDance.
Yeah.
And even the Supreme Court is like weighing in on this.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and it's interesting because they all have like very different stakes in the game.
Right.
Like you said, Biden, he was the one who initially pushed for the ban.
Yeah.
But then you have Trump, who kind of ironically was also trying to ban TikTok during his first term.
Right.
Now he's saying he might actually like save it.
Yeah. It's a total plot twist.
It is.
Okay, so let's back up a little bit. I mean, just for those who haven't been like
All right.
following every single update of this story. Like I think it all kind of like started with these concerns about data privacy and whether the Chinese government could actually access user data through TikTok.
Exactly. That's the main concern, right?
Right,
Like
yeah.
the U.S. government is worried about the amount of data that TikTok is collecting
Yeah,
and where that data could potentially end up.
right.
And other countries have also expressed similar concerns.
Yeah, and that's what led Biden to sign that bill last year,
Right.
which was basically aimed at like curbing foreign influence on US apps.
Mm-hmm.
And so this gave ByteDance like a deadline.
Yeah.
It was this past Sunday, actually, January 19th,
Oh, wow.
to either sell TikTok
Yeah.
or face a complete ban in the US.
So they had to make a choice.
Yeah, and this is where it gets even more interesting.
Okay.
Just 2 days before that deadline,
Uh-huh.
the Supreme Court upheld the law.
Really?
Yeah, and they actually sided with national security concerns over free speech arguments,
Interesting.
basically saying that like Congress has the power to force a sale if they think it's necessary for national security.
So it was a pretty big ruling.
Yeah, I mean, and this ruling could have huge implications for even like beyond TikTok.
Right.
Think about it. If
What does this mean for other companies?
the government can force the sale of a foreign-owned app because of potential security risks,
Yeah.
what's stopping them from doing the same to any tech company,
Right.
even American ones, that they see as a threat?
It's setting a precedent.
Right. It's a question worth thinking about, especially if you are
Is.
invested in the tech sector.
Yeah.
But, okay, just as everyone was like preparing for a TikTok-less world,
Yeah.
the biggest plot twist comes in.
Okay.
Donald Trump, on his first day back in office,
Yeah.
announced that he's going to delay the ban with an executive order.
What?
I know, right?
That's crazy.
During his campaign, he promised to save TikTok.
Yeah.
It seemed like he was really appealing to like younger voters.
Yeah.
But now, like, some people are questioning whether this move is truly about national security or if it's actually politically motivated.
Yeah,
It's a fair question to ask.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It really shows how much like politics and technology are completely intertwined at
Yeah.
this point.
Okay, so let's break down like the US government's reasoning for wanting to ban TikTok in the first place.
Okay.
So they're mainly concerned about three things:
Mm-hmm.
data collection,
Yep.
potential access by the Chinese government,
Yeah.
and the possibility of manipulating the algorithm to influence users.
Okay, so those sound like pretty serious concerns.
They do. But here's where it gets a little bit like murky.
Yeah.
Despite all this anxiety, no public evidence of any wrongdoing has been presented. Like no proof that TikTok has actually handed over data to the Chinese government
Yeah.
or used its algorithm for anything bad.
That's right. It makes it a lot more complex.
Right.
So you have these legitimate concerns about data security
Yeah.
and foreign interference, right?
Yeah.
Especially in like the digital age that we live in now, where information is so powerful.
Right.
But then on the other hand, is demanding a sale too drastic
All right.
if there's actually no concrete evidence?
Yeah.
So it's a really tough question.
It's like a digital version of innocent until proven guilty.
Oh, yeah.
And the potential consequences of a ban are massive.
Yeah.
Not just for TikTok,
Right.
but for like the whole digital landscape.
Like the whole ecosystem.
We're talking millions of users
Yeah.
potentially losing access to the app,
Right.
creators losing their platform and their income,
Mm.
and then like a potential ripple effect across all of social media.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like competitors like Reels and YouTube Shorts,
Right.
they would probably benefit from TikTok not being around,
Yeah.
which could actually lead to less diversity
Yeah.
and just more concentrated power
Yeah.
in the hands of just a few big companies.
Right. And it's not even just about like the creators and the companies. Imagine if your favorite app just like disappeared.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what millions of TikTok users are facing right now.
exactly.
And it raises all sorts of questions about
Right.
how reliant we've become on these platforms
Oh,
and
yeah.
what happens when they just vanish.
Yeah, and the businesses, too.
Oh, right.
The businesses that have built their whole strategy on TikTok,
Yeah.
they're going to be massively disrupted.
It could cost jobs,
Right.
stifle innovation in the digital space.
The whole web of consequences.
So have there been any attempts to find a solution that doesn't involve a complete ban?
There have been a few proposals.
Okay.
Perplexity AI,
Yeah.
they made a merger offer.
Interesting.
And then there was this consortium of investors,
Mm-hmm.
and they put in a $20 billion bid
Wow.
for TikTok's U.S. operations.
Okay, so these attempts are at least showing
Yeah.
that TikTok is valuable and
Right.
that people want to find like a compromise.
Right.
But it's not a simple fix.
Right.
Even if Trump's executive order successfully delays this ban,
Yeah.
there's still all these legal and regulatory hurdles to overcome.
Exactly. You still have concerns
Right.
that even if a deal is reached,
Yeah.
it might not satisfy everyone.
Right. Will it actually address the government's security concerns,
Right.
but also allow TikTok to operate freely? It's hard to like please everyone.
It is. It's a tough needle to thread.
And throughout all of this, TikTok hasn't exactly been quiet.
Oh, no, they haven't.
They've been really vocal.
Yeah.
They've completely denied any wrongdoing,
Right.
resisted selling their U.S. operations, and
Mhm.
even argued that the ban violates their First Amendment rights
Wow.
and the rights of their users.
So they're saying it violates the rights of all Americans.
Yeah, it's a bold argument.
It is.
And it kind of plays into this larger debate
Right.
about freedom of expression in the digital age. I
Right.
mean, they're essentially saying that the government is overstepping its bounds
Right.
and censoring a platform that's become like a vital space for creativity,
Mhm.
for connection,
Yeah.
and even like political discourse.
It's a really compelling point.
Yeah, especially in a country like the U.S., where
Yeah.
freedom of speech is so highly valued.
Yeah, this story is.
Yeah, this is far from over.
Absolutely. This is just the beginning.
Yeah.
It's going to be a long and complicated story.
Yeah, and speaking of like ripple effects,
Mhm.
this isn't just an American story.
Right.
Other countries are watching that.
Yeah, like Albania, for example.
Yeah.
They just imposed a year-long ban on TikTok
Wow.
after there was a school stabbing.
Oh, wow.
They were worried about harmful content.
Interesting.
Yeah,
So this whole situation is really setting a precedent
absolutely.
for how governments around the world
Hmm.
might approach regulating social media.
Yeah, particularly those that are tied to foreign governments.
Yeah, it's almost like we're entering like a new era
It is.
of digital geopolitics where the battleground is online
Yeah.
and the weapons are data and algorithms.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and it really highlights
Yeah.
how we have to balance national security. Yeah.
With individual rights
Right.
in this increasingly interconnected world.
Mm-hmm.
So before we go any further, let's take a quick pause,
Okay,
and we'll come back to this after the break.
sounds good. Yeah, it's a tough situation for governments.
Yeah.
They have to protect their citizens from threats,
Right.
both foreign and domestic.
Mm-hmm.
But they also can't be seen as like stifling innovation or
Right.
encroaching on people's freedom of expression.
Yeah, it's a tough balance.
It is.
So what's been TikTok's response throughout all of this?
Well, their strategy has been pretty interesting to watch. I mean, they're
Yeah.
fighting for their survival.
Yeah.
They've been appealing directly to users,
Right.
emphasizing the impact that a ban would have on creators
Mm.
and just the broader digital ecosystem.
Right.
They even launched these campaigns encouraging users to like
Right.
contact their elected officials and voice their opposition.
So basically they're trying to like rally public support
Right.
and make it seem like this is a fight for digital freedom. Yeah. And it's a clever tactic
Yeah.
considering how massive their user base is.
Right. Especially among younger generations.
Exactly. They're
Yeah.
essentially saying, hey, this isn't just about us.
Mm-hmm.
It's about you, the users, and your right to express yourselves online.
Right.
It's a message that a lot of people can get behind.
Yeah, especially those who are worried about government overreach or censorship.
Right.
I can see how that will be persuasive.
Right.
But let's not forget about the government's perspective.
Right, of course.
They're trying to protect national security,
Yeah.
and they see TikTok's Chinese ownership as a threat.
Right. And they're saying this isn't about censorship. It's about safeguarding data
Okay.
and preventing foreign interference.
Right.
They're saying the risks are just too big
Yeah.
to let TikTok continue operating in the U.S.
So it seems like both sides have valid points.
Yeah, they do.
So how do you even begin to figure out a situation like this?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
How do you balance national security concerns
Yay.
with freedom of expression in this digital age?
Yeah.
It's a problem that democracies all over the world are facing
Right.
as technology gets more advanced
Yeah.
and global relations get more complicated.
It does feel like this case is setting a precedent,
It does.
not just for the U.S., but for how other countries might regulate social media.
Right, especially companies with like international ownership.
Yeah. It's almost like we're seeing a new era of internet governance.
Yeah, it feels that way.
Yeah.
Governments are really starting to see the power that these platforms have,
Right.
and they're trying to figure out how to control them.
Yeah. But the question is, how far is too far?
Right, because
Yeah.
on one hand, you want to stop misinformation, you want to protect national security,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't want to stifle innovation or limit free speech.
Yeah. It's a tough balance.
It really is, and the stakes are high.
Yeah.
This case really shows that the decisions that get made in the next few weeks or months could have huge consequences for the future of the internet, for the global economy,
Yeah.
for just our digital lives.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Do you use TikTok?
Um,
Have you thought about what a ban would mean for you?
yeah. I mean,
Would you be okay with the government limiting access to certain apps or websites?
I know it's a tough one.
Right.
I mean, even if it's in the name of national security,
It makes you think, doesn't it?
I mean, this whole thing goes way beyond just TikTok.
Right.
It makes us think about how much control we're willing to give up
Yeah.
in exchange for security.
Right. Are we okay with them deciding what apps we can use?
Right.
What information we can see?
Yeah, what we can even talk about online.
It's kind of scary when you put it like that.
Yeah, it's a little bit unsettling.
Right.
That's why it's so important to stay informed, to talk about these things,
Mhm.
and to make our voices heard.
So as we kind of wrap this up,
Yeah,
what's next for TikTok?
the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
Will Trump's executive order actually work?
Right.
Will they find a buyer that makes everyone happy?
Right. And if they do find a buyer,
Mm-hmm.
will it actually solve those concerns about data privacy and foreign influence?
Right. It's a high-stakes game for sure.
Yeah. Everyone's watching to see what happens next.
Exactly. And the outcome of this whole thing
Yeah.
could have ripple effects
Mhm.
far beyond just the tech industry.
It's not just about TikTok.
It's not. It's about the future of the internet.
Right.
The balance of power between governments and these big tech companies.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's about our rights and freedoms in this digital age.
Yeah. It feels like we're at this crossroads.
We are. It's a clash of values and ideologies and economic interests,
Yeah.
and it's all happening on a global scale.
It's true. It's like a reminder that the digital world isn't separate from
Right.
everything else that's going on.
It's intertwined with geopolitics, with national security,
Yeah.
with our daily lives.
And the decisions that are made now could have like a huge impact for years to come.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about.
Okay.
Is this just about TikTok or is this just the beginning?
Right.
Like, are we headed toward a future where governments have more and more control over what we can do online?
That's the question we all need to be asking.
Yeah.
I mean, this whole situation with TikTok could set a precedent
Right.
for how governments approach regulating these platforms.
Especially those with connections to foreign governments.
Exactly. And that brings up all these concerns about censorship,
Yeah.
about freedom of expression,
Yeah.
about the balance of power between governments and these tech companies.
It's kind of unsettling to think about.
It is.
Like, what if our favorite apps or websites just become inaccessible because of some government decision?
What if the internet as we know it
Right.
becomes more fragmented, more controlled?
Yeah. It's a possibility we can't just ignore.
We can't. And that's why it's so crucial to stay informed, to talk about these issues,
Yeah.
and to hold our elected officials accountable.
They work for us.
They do. The future of the internet is at stake,
Yeah.
and we all have a role in shaping it.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today.
Well, yeah.
From the beginning of this whole ban
Yeah.
to the Supreme Court ruling to Trump's intervention.
It's been a roller coaster.
It really has. It's a complex story.
It is.
And one that's still unfolding.
Absolutely.
So we'll definitely keep following it.
I'll keep you updated.
As this story develops, keep in mind that
Yeah.
it's not just about one app or one country.
It's not. It's about this bigger fight to figure out the rules of the internet.
Right. Who gets to decide what we see?
Exactly. What we say, what we can even access.
How we connect with each other.
Yeah, these are big questions.
These are questions that will probably be around for a long time.
I think so.
Well, thanks for helping us navigate this whole digital maze.
It's been my pleasure. It's discussions like this that help us understand this crazy world.
And to all of you listening out there,
Yeah.
we hope this deep dive has given you something to think about.
Something to chew on.
This isn't just some tech story.
Right.
It's a human story.
It is.
It's about our rights, our freedoms,
Yeah.
and the future we want to create together.
Exactly.
So stay curious, stay engaged,
Stay informed.
and keep asking the tough questions.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
See you next time.